Good morning. Good morning. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm Charles, your host. Now, listen, I'm excited for this next week because you know what it is? Every time you get up and learn something new, you grow. When you grow, we all grow. So let's grow together. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm getting a lot of great feedback about the show, and you can watch the replay every day at 6:30 on LinkedIn Live. That's right. The replay, every show is getting replayed on LinkedIn Live. So let's get into it. I got a special guest for you today. Please welcome to the show. Hey, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm excited to have you on this show. It's the start of a Monday. You know, we got to start with the show with a bang. So you got to get you on there. So tell everybody who you are, where you're from. Give us some background.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for having me. My name is Sheena Ewan. I do many things. My ethnic background is Jamaican. I identify as Black. And I was born in Canada, Mississauga, so local. And I've been in the community for, almost 40 years. Really why I'm here today is to really share about my business. So OnePeopleTO is a wellness and healing sanctuary. And it's really based on my lived experience of living in the GTA around mental health, but also spirituality and how those things intersect and just like wellness in general. And my story is really unique, and it's not something that I think a lot of people feel comfortable sharing, particularly in Caribbean communities. So I'm just here maybe to dispel some myths and also just to share some information.
All right, so let's backtrack then.
Yeah.
Little girl from Mississauga.
Yes.
Okay, with a Caribbean background.
Yes.
What was she dreaming of becoming?
Oh, good question. She was, so many dreams. An obstetrician, a dance teacher, a teacher for sure, just, to be able to be in folks' lives. I think there's a common thread of having some sort of service involved in there. What's a major part of the story is that I was born in Mississauga, but I actually moved to Milton in 85.
Okay.
Grew up in a community that was very much did not look like me, right? Particularly in the 80s. So that was a challenge, to be honest,
So you're the token in the pond, is what you're saying?
That's right. My sister and myself were probably one of maybe 5 Black students in a school of over 500. So
okay. So we saw you walking down the hall then.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
So let's go back to that hallway. Mm-hmm. Who were some of the teachers that influenced you?
Oh, such a great question. So a couple of teachers. I will say what's interesting is that my first Black teacher that I had wasn't until grade 10. And she was my science teacher, my computer science teacher, and she did keyboarding. Her name was Mrs. Hinkson. Before that, though, I would probably say the teachers that really pushed me and saw my light was a teacher in grade 8, Mrs. Madaw. She really inspired me to write and to express myself. Moving forward into grade 9, Mrs. Kerr Wilson, she was my geography teacher and someone that encouraged me to explore, basically. And then it was in grade 10 when I met Mrs. Hinkson and saw, from my first time, like, oh my gosh, I have a Black teacher. This is amazing. And she was Jamaican,
All right. So we got, and then all of a sudden you start talking about what? Mangoes and this and the foods and you get to know each other and you're like, hey,
right? Some synergy. Yeah.
All right. So then you moved from there. What was your next step? Did you go to college, university?
I went to university. So I went to the University of Windsor and I majored in psychology. And it was actually through my process of moving away. I think a lot of kids, when you're 8, I was OAC at the time, but when you're 18, 19 and you're just thinking, let me just get away from my parents, right? Luckily, my sister was also at Windsor as well. So we're very close. We've always been very close. So it was kind of like, hey, sister time.
Yeah.
And so when I came back, it was actually in that discovery of how my identity was changing and what I really wanted to do and what I was being forced to do. And of course, as well, I think everyone maybe grows up with some kind of wounding, if you want to say, that happens in childhood.
Mm-hmm.
However, it could be bullying or whatnot. And how you carry that through. And so it wasn't until then that I started to realize, like, things are still sitting with me,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to work on those things. And so it was in my early 20s that I started to really think about that.
Right. And then automatically, because we're Caribbean, you ran to your mom and dad and said, this is what's happening. And they gave you the greatest advice, right?
Oh, yeah. Nothing's happening. What are you talking about? You're fine. You're fine.
You can handle it. Go back to the thing. Don't let them bully you. You can do this and you're fine.
Exactly.
I got you. And then after you said, okay, I'm fine, what happened?
And then I really started to probably internalize, and thinking like, well, I'm fine, or I can't share that with other people if I'm feeling like not well, or if I'm feeling like I can't handle something today. And so it was really like a process of me kind of going within and keeping to myself for a while. And even in that, I have great parents. They're still together 47 years. But still, complications and stuff. And so there were times that they would definitely see like, oh, I think Sheena's struggling. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you okay? And then even then I would feel like, I think this is a trick question, because I'm going to tell you something and you're not going to believe me. And so it was in that I actually just started to do kind of my own research, and it's interesting because I, like many Black folks, particularly Jamaican or Caribbean, I grew up in the church, and it was around like my 16, 18 that I started to kind of edge away. I think many people have that kind of like, is this relevant for me? What's happening here?
The Bruckout stage.
Exactly, the Bruckout, and Sheena was on that train for a little while, right? And then I kind of came to like a realization that I wasn't really vibing in the way I wanted to vibe. And I think also too, while I respected my parents' way of being, it wasn't for me, and it's interesting because it's cool to be able to say that I've come full circle. And now I've been able to amalgamate the experiences and the learnings that I had in the church with my own personal lived experience and what works for me. Right. So that's been a blessing for sure. And to have them actually still present in this on Earth side while we've come to this is a beautiful experience.
So then here's the question. If it's not the parents, who did you run to?
Good question. At times, I would definitely say substances. And then I inadvertently, because it was around the same time of that intersection of the Bruckout stage, after 16, I really started to find what we would call modalities, so healing modalities. So whether it was like astrology, and people don't often think of that as healing, but when you're validated in some way and you can process things in a way that you wouldn't have been able to before, that would be considered healing. And then fast forward to Reiki, and things that, my parents either would disregard or hadn't even heard of. And I would actually say that it was really, I don't know if this sounds funny, but my inner voice or my internal systems kind of saying like, hey, listen to me. Don't listen to me. You don't need to listen to anybody else. Like, we know what's happening. Just, if you can center yourself and listen, you'll hear the next steps.
Oh, okay. Because for me, it was my grandmother.
Okay.
No one listened, and you're like, man, I got somebody. And you oh, wait, my grandma's there. Then you go talk to your grandmother, and she's like, baby, it'll be all right. All right, that's what you got to do.
You are very right. I will say my grandma and I have a special, special relationship. In my teens, when I was having a hard time, she lived right down the street from my high school. And so when I didn't have anybody to have lunch with, or I'd be crying, or my mom wanted to kick me out, she would try to talk sense into the both of us.
Yep. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
I totally get it. So then, going through what you went through, when did you say, I should open up a business for this?
It's funny, actually. I have been doing, you do so I've been working I had been working full time for 20 something years. And, you always have that part-time thing on the side, whether it's, this is really exposing for me because I only do this for myself or the people that really know me. And so that's really where this service part of it started. But it wasn't until 2019. And I really have to say, I feel like God, the spirit guided me to come to this realization. So it was in March of 2019 that I went to see Tarana Burke. She had come here to talk about the Me Too movement. And one of the things that she had said was, being in this social justice arena, everyone's really focused on, protesting and the actions of, letter writing or the actual labor behind social justice. And she was like, but the thing is that we can't do that indefinitely because we will burn ourselves out. And the things that we really, and I didn't really think about it until that point, And she was like, we really need services and we need healing services. And I was thinking in my head, we need, people of color, we need Black folks to be leading those services, because it is us on the front lines.
Okay. So let me backtrack because when you said one thing, I was like, oh yeah. What is burnout?
Yes.
What is burnout? Because some people don't think, oh, I'm tired. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I'm stressed. Okay. What is burnout? Like, what is your body? Like this morning, I was like, I needed a pickup before the show because I thought too much stuff going on, running around. I'm thinking about this. Too much things I'm thinking about. I'm not getting enough sleep. I'm not. But you keep going. You go, oh, I'm okay. And then you do it again. And then you do it again. And you do it again. What is burnout?
That's a great question. So burnout essentially is your body telling you that you have exhausted its mechanisms to cope at that point. So at this point, your productivity reduces, your executive functioning reduces. So when we think about your executive functioning, this is having brain fog. This is not being able to think clearly. This is forgetting things on a repeated basis. This is not being able to absorb as much content or information as you would have been able to before. So even when you think about, and of course, on top of that, like literal body fatigue, your back hurting or having ailments that kind of coming out of nowhere, right? And you're like, oh, where is that coming from? But it's because it's the cumulative effect of not being able to rest. And it's not just your body being able to rest, it's your mind, And so this idea of burnout is something that's not really well understood. And we pretend like, oh, we can kind of fight through it. But it's really our body to kind of giving us an indication that you need to slow down. Otherwise, you may not have the option to slow down what will be offered to you, Sometimes people will say, oh, I'm working so hard. And then, they break their arm or they, injure themselves in some way. And it's almost like God or the universe kind of saying like, I told you to slow down. We're going to slow down now. You've got no choice.
You didn't want to listen. Here, I'll help you listen. All right. Not a problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to listen to a break and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back.
You're tuned into Black Business Live TV for culture, commerce, and community. The news stories we live, brought to you live 24/7.
Yes. And listen, if you want to find this lovely lady, you know where I found her? On Malcolm's Choice. That's right, Malcolm's Choice. If you want to find her and find more business, you can find them on Malcolm's Choice right there. That's right. It's all about Malcolm's Choice, your one-stop shop for all Black businesses. Go there, sign up. It's real easy. You can sign up, say, hey, go to the website. I have a business. Go to the link. Click the link. Push into your business and see what happens, because the more traffic you get, the more business you get, the more people that find you, all brought to you by Malcolm's Choice. All right. So just before the break, we're talking about burnout. We're talking about what we can do. So here's the question. I got burnout. How can I get back up? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to look for?
Absolutely. And I think the first thing is to remember that the solutions look different for everyone, right? So for some folks, it might be meditation and mindfulness. For some folks, that doesn't really work. Like sitting down, and, oming.
I'm not a kumbaya kind of guy, right?
Right. And so for some folks, maybe it's like movement. And I think particularly, of course, over the last couple of years, we've been so isolated. And we really have to remember that connection is important, particularly connection with folks that can really like rub our juices or inspire us in some way. It doesn't mean that we actually have to be in physical space with other people, but being able, just like what you're doing here, having conversations, stimulating minds is a way for you to like get your soul and your spirit and your mind kind of back on track. Of course, there are other things too. So actual modalities like massage, things that will slow you down. So personally, for me, that's Reiki, as well as other things that can help you to mentally process. So an analogy I like to offer is that when we have either, it doesn't have to be a traumatic experience, but emotional experiences or things that have happened in our lives, whether it's recent or a long time ago. And to me, everything, it's like a memory is a file folder. And so depending on how energetically, fueled that memory is, the file folder can be bigger or smaller. And if we can process it, so whether that be through therapy or movement, because information is also stored in the body. So even if you're not verbally expressing it, channeling or thinking about the experience and then moving your body or going for a run can also be very helpful. And then after that process has happened, the information or the file folder kind of gets condensed because it's not holding as much information. It's not holding as much energy.
You need more data space.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a defragmentation, right? When you do on your computer.
So when it's full, you like to okay, do I need an upgrade or do I need to slow down? Why is my data space full? Okay, what's in there that doesn't not need to be in there?
That's right.
That's causing all this mayhem or this trouble that I'm feeling right now.
That's right. And even to that point, of course, you would have to think about your actual environment too, right? So the people in your environment, how your relationships may be changing, have changed, how they're impacting you, and also just like your physical environment, how clean it is, if it's cluttered, if you need to throw things away, because those things also impact you more than you realize.
All right, so let's get down to the nitty gritty.
Let's do it.
If you get people in your life that's bunching you down, what do you do?
Well, I think it's a matter of really analyzing their, we say season, reason, lifetime, right?
Okay.
And so, right. So the thing is, I think it's important to look at their importance in your life. And this is not just friends, business, it's also family, right? It's anyone that's in your space that is affecting you. Right. And I think as soon as you start to realize that you're being negatively affected, you start to erect boundaries that can help you to preserve your energy, preserve your space, preserve your mental health. That doesn't mean that you have to excommunicate folks or cut people off or anything like that. Although, I mean, if that happens and it's needed, then, but we don't have to get that far, right?
You're in my space. You need to get out. Let me 6 feet. 6 feet. All right.
At least.
Okay, there we go. All right. And if you need help, what you can do is if you can't get help there, you can come get help here. Let's talk about your business, how you've been working and how can people get a hold of you and what you've been doing to help people.
Absolutely. So OnePeopleTO is located downtown. We have been coming back to or reverting back to in-person sessions, but I think there's a convenience about doing sessions online as well. What's exciting is that today, September the 13th, we're launching our corporate membership portal, which means that organizations, large organizations, mid-size and large organizations can sign up. And there are 3 tiers in which they can provide healing options to their employees that may be returning back to the office. And this, for the most part, is going to be virtual. We've also been partnering with the Economic Club of Canada, with Conscious Economics and the Junior Economic Club of Canada, as well as Carlin Purcell Mercia, who we've partnered with to do the Wellbeing Playbook. And so there are lots of opportunities for Black, Indigenous people of color who are entrepreneurs that would like to promote their services, to be in the space, to become a member as well. And if you're an individual, those services are also available as well. So Reiki, our main staples are Reiki, yoga, meditation and mindfulness, intuition and guidance, coaching, and astrology and tarot as well. And so we're just happy to be able to provide a physical space as well as a virtual space where we can really focus on decolonizing mental health and spirituality, and being able to provide like a Black face when you're looking for spiritual support, particularly for our own community, right? And then I think it's really important for individuals of certain communities that they are able to share their own wisdom, knowledge from their ancestry, and it's not appropriated. And so any way that we can promote that and share that, or partner with organizations who are interested in doing that as well, we're just happy to make that a priority, particularly in the GTA.
All right. So I don't know what this is, so I'm going to ask.
Absolutely.
Reiki.
Yes.
You keep saying Reiki, and I'm like, okay. And then I'm going through your website. Explain what that is.
Yes. Thank you for asking. Reiki, I have to say, for someone, and it's a different experience for everyone. Reiki has literally changed my life. It has. I don't say it lightly when I say it saved my life. From someone who was at like the max dose of antidepressants and cycling through and weaning up and down and tried all kinds of different medications. Reiki essentially is a healing modality, an energy healing modality. So Reiki is the Japanese term for what Black folks would know as a laying on of hands. So placing your hands on someone and actually feeling life force energy through the conduit, which, for example, would be me as the practitioner. And the person, the recipient receives extreme feelings of peace, to the point that oftentimes folks will fall asleep. Really, the situation when you come in, a lot of people think it's like a massage, but there's actually no manipulation of the tissue. You're literally fully clothed, lying on a massage table. Because the fact you're actually going through like a meditative experience. I like to call it an induced meditation, and I really enjoy Reiki because, like I was saying earlier, I'm one of those folks who don't really do so great sitting down doing mindfulness or meditation. But Reiki helps me to actually drop in, to the point that, like I was saying, a lot of folks will fall asleep. And so Reiki is basically a series of hand positions. So we'll start around your head, and we'll lead you through a few deep breaths. And at a certain point, generally there's no speaking. And I'm intuiting what's happening in your body, either what's happening in your life, in your mind. A lot of intuition will come up, but what the recipient is feeling is oftentimes like energy moving through their body. So whether that's because of an energy blockage, or there are situations in their body that have caused dis-ease or discontentment, which creates a density. And anyone, when you think about it, everyone has the ability to self-heal. So, when a child gets hurt and the mother leans over to say like, oh, let me kiss it. And the kid actually feels like, oh, I feel better. Like, thanks, mom. And they run off and go and play. Right.
Yeah. Kiss the boo-boo.
Kiss the boo-boo. Right. And if you were to, or, if you ask someone for a hug, and sometimes, you see people giving long hugs, it's because they're transferring energy. Right. It's just in the same way that if you were to walk into a room after an argument, you would feel the tension. You don't have to necessarily touch the person, but you can feel that.
Yeah, you walk in and then you moonwalk back out.
Right. You're like, I don't need to be a part of this, right?
This is not my scene right now.
Exactly. So Reiki essentially is a transference of peace, love, light, energy. And everyone feels it differently. But the impact is very palpable, actually, to the point that they've been using it in hospitals. I know firsthand that it's been used at Mount Sinai here in Toronto. There were studies done I know of studies since 2009 that have been done, particularly with women that are giving birth. And as well as at Princess Margaret for cancer patients. So.
All right. So just let everybody know, there's no downward dog in this thing.
No. You literally you're just lying.
You're not stretching this, like folding your.
No.
Okay. See?
No.
We're on the same page now. Now we understand what it is. There you go. All right. We're going to play time for some games now. Let's make it some fun. Are you ready to get into it? Let's go. All right. So it's time for Pick 3. Yes, it's time for Pick 3. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick 3 numbers between 1 and 10. Give me those 3 numbers, and then those are the questions I'm going to ask you. Go ahead.
Okay, right on. Well, 1 and 3 are my numbers, so I have to go there. Mm-hmm. And let's do 9.
1, 3, 9. Question number 1. What is the one thing you wish you would have known before getting into this business?
That's a great question. That's a good question. That you are always really having to pivot, even before COVID, right? I think COVID has taught us this idea of pivot, but pivot has been happening even before that. So just being as flexible as possible, and not, when you have the dream, I think sometimes we can get fixed in how it's supposed to show up. And so knowing that at any point you may just have to like maneuver or switch, and just being ready to do that.
Okay, number 3. What advice would you give someone trying to pursue a career similar to yours?
Use your lived experience. I think it's important for you to be able to share what you've been through and why you're doing what you're doing, because that's how people resonate with you. It's your story. And I think we understand now how representation is so important. So your story will speak to someone out there that really needs to hear it. And that's a part of your healing journey as well.
All right. So here you go. If you can create your signature question, what would that be?
Oh, for myself?
Yep.
Oh, that's a good question. What do you do, I guess, in times of stress?
And the answer is?
And the answer is like verbal prayer. So I have a few Psalms that are like, that will bring the tears.
Yep.
That make me feel present.
Yep.
I'm a crystal person. So something that's tangible, right? That I can, or something like aromatherapy, something that I can, lavender or breathe in, and it's palpable. And so I can just kind of take a moment. So those are my main.
So if someone brings you to church and has a good smell with crystals, you're in heaven already.
Oh yeah, that's a combination.
There you go. All right, here we go. It is called Speed Round. This is our fun game we play before we let you go. I ask you a couple of questions. You got to just spit them out real quick.
All right.
And you have like 30 seconds to explain if you want to explain, but we got to go. You ready?
Got it. Let's go.
All right. Favorite food?
Fries.
Favorite drink?
Oh, wine. Red wine.
Favorite song to sing?
Oh, shoot. That's hard. I'm a music person, so you got to check out my playlist.
What is your hidden talent?
Making people feel like they love themselves.
What is your favorite psalm? Pick one.
27. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear?
Okay. Now, name 2 people that's influenced you.
My grandma and my mom.
There you go.
Down.
All right. You can only choose one food. You have the crystals. You have the smell. What is the one thing, dessert-wise, that it just puts it over the edge?
Oh, sticky toffee pudding.
I didn't see that coming. All right. That threw me off. But okay, there you go. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. We're glad that you can make it. And if you want more information, there you go. Send her an email and say, hey, I saw you on the show. I got some questions. I might be feeling a little something. All right. And if you want to check out the website, it is right there.
Awesome.
But you can also give her a call, 416-993-3265. That's 993-3265. All right. Like I told everybody, you didn't have to watch, but I'm glad that you did. And I tell everybody, thank you. And pick up the phone and say, hey, I was thinking about you. Just call. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Has come to an end, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share, and get involved. Join us next time.
Please be advised that this podcast is meant for educational and informational purposes only and is in no way a replacement for legal or medical advice. The opinions contained within are solely those of the interviewers and interviewees and should be received as so. Those seeking help or advice are encouraged to obtain